Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is Lanai Bain, and I also have James Delmonico on with us as well. So today we're going to be going through just a brief overview of SEP, talking about features, functionalities, some new things that we have already in the product and things we have coming up shortly. So we're going to kind of break the webinar into two different portions. The first part's just going to be a quick overview with a little PowerPoint presentation, and then we'll jump into a live demo with James so that he can kind of give an overview of the product itself and what it looks like. We will be taking questions throughout the webinar, so if anyone has any specific questions, please feel free to go into the questions box on the GoToMeeting console, enter your questions, and we'll probably have a quick little Q&A in between the transition from the PowerPoint slides over to the live demo, and then we'll also answer any remaining questions at the end of the presentation as well. So we invite you to participate, ask as many questions as you like, and look forward to a little interaction with everyone today. So just to kind of start out and give a brief overview of kind of who we are as a company, what we do, what we focus on. Typically, whenever we talk to someone new, one of the first questions is, what's different about SEP in the backup space? What differentiates SEP from some of your competitors, stuff like that. So there's three main things that we really focus on. The first thing is offering one solution for an entire enterprise. So a lot of the folks that we talk to have more than one solution in place. Pretty much on a daily basis, I talk to people that have 2, 3, 4, 5 different solutions in place, and a lot of folks are just looking to standardize down to one solution, have one central management interface, and one single pane of glass to manage, their entire enterprise or, university or whatever the case may be. And so because SEP supports such a wide range of different platforms, operating systems, virtual platforms, different databases and email technology and all of that, we're really able to offer one solution and let people, get rid of having to manage, multiple solutions. The second main thing we focus on is performance. We use our patented multi-streaming technology, which enables us to back up multiple tasks at the same time. And basically what that does is just enables us to maximize whatever bandwidth we have to work with. So we can back up an unlimited number of backup streams to disk at the same time, and then we can back up to 64 streams to tape. One of the really cool things about that is we can do the same thing when we're restoring data as well. So we can actually restore data, pretty much just as fast as we can back it up. The third main thing that we focus on is reliability. SEP really is a set it and forget it solution. Once you do the install, once you have everything up and running, you really don't have to go in and mess with it or babysit it. It just works. And one thing that I tell people all the time is we're originally a German-based company, and the data security laws are quite a bit different in Germany. So one of those laws says that if we tell another company we're going to back up their data, we actually become 100% financially responsible for that other company's data. So reliability is something that we take very seriously. We're on the hook for quite a bit of data, not only in Germany but in other places as well. So the point of all of that and how that equates to real world functionality is if you have a backup task that's being completed successfully and you get a message or a report that says your backup task was completed, your data is going to be there 100% of the time no matter what. So for some of you who may have been or who've been in the industry for a long time and have used other products, you're probably familiar with at least one instance of using another product and going to do a restore and maybe a folder is empty, or maybe you can't get the restore to complete, or maybe the data in that restore has been corrupted or something. So it's actually fairly common, and we see it quite a bit, and that simply just doesn't happen with our solution. And then on the bottom here, there's cost, and that's not something that we necessarily focus on as a key differentiator, but I definitely think it's relevant, so I always put it on the slide. And we basically come in at about 40% of industry average from a cost standpoint. So, pretty much whatever solution anyone else is using, we're able to come in and reduce the overall cost of what they're spending on their backups, whether it be from an initial purchase price to an ongoing, maintenance and renewal price. So we typically average about 40% of most, the average of most of our competitors. From a product integration standpoint, we support pretty much everything under the sun. These are just some examples of some of the more popular stuff that we see on a day-to-day basis. So on the left-hand side, we have file systems, or operating systems and file systems. So SEP can run on Windows, Linux, or Solaris. So you can choose what type of OS you want your main backup server to be. We don't have a lot of the constraints that a lot of our competitors have, having to run on a certain version of Windows and having, certain types of dedicated hardware and stuff. We can typically just go into an existing infrastructure. You can pick a server you want to put us on. It can be physical, it can be virtual. It's really up to you. And so it's very flexible, and it really lowers, the barriers to entry, and just kind of, makes the transition very simple and easy to SEP. And then from a client or agent standpoint, we support quite a bit of other operating systems, like I said, just some of the more popular ones, Red Hat, SUSE, Mac, AIX, HP, UX, etc. From an application level, database level, and a virtual technology level, everything we do is through native APIs. So when we back up Exchange, for example, we're going through VSS, same for SharePoint. When we back up Novell group-wise, we're going through the TSAs. Backing up Oracle, we go through RMAN. SAP, we use Backint. So everything we're doing is native communication, so that we can get very granular backups, and obviously very granular restores as well. And it also ensures that the backup tasks are being done, the right way through the proper, backup tools. So we also support VMware, Hyper-V, Citrix, and we actually need to add to this slide because we now support Red Hat Rev as well. And then we also offer bare metal recovery for Windows workstations, and also for Linux. And we'll touch on some of these things here moving forward as well. So for anyone who has joined us since we started, if you do have any questions throughout the presentation, please go ahead and just enter those into the questions tab on your GoToMeeting console in the upper right-hand corner, and we'll have a couple of Q&A sessions as we go. So getting back to the concept of having one solution for the entire enterprise, there's a couple things that this feature offers, and we basically just try to make it as easy as possible to manage a large enterprise. So different administrators can have different views. You can customize your view in your own console. So if there's a DBA that doesn't really care about all the backups in general, he just wants to focus on specific databases, then he can customize his view so when he opens SEP, all he sees are his relevant tasks. Or they're all on one tab separated so that he can focus on that. If there's certain administrators in different locations, they can just see the part of the infrastructure that they're responsible for. The GUIs that we have they're free and unlimited, so you can download them to workstations, you can put them on different servers, you can have them on laptops or desktops, really any point of contact that you would need to have a SEP console. You can make that available, and like I said, you can customize them all so they're more convenient for you. So here's just a kind of simplified version of a typical environment that we would work with, and I just kind of use this picture to kind of talk through different ways that we could back up certain parts of an environment. So on the left-hand side here, you can see that there's a SEP server. So that would be the main backup server. So again, that could be a physical server. It could also be a VM running on VMware or any of the other virtual platforms. We could have local attached disk to that server. That could be a NAS, RAID array, a removable hard drive, or it could be something inside the server, just disk inside the server as well. So I mean, that could really be anything. That SEP server is connected to a SAN, and then we could back up to disk, we could back up to tape, we can do any combination of that. And then right underneath the SAN circle, you can see that there are several other servers there. So there's a file server and a database server, and those are both connected to the backup server across the local area network, and they're also directly connected to the SAN. So one of the cool things that we can do is, instead of backing up those servers across the LAN and taking up bandwidth and all of that, we can do what we call a LAN-free backup, where we just take all of the data and we push that data directly to the SAN, since they have direct communication. So we can do that over fiber or iSCSI. And that's basically just a performance, way to increase performance, and also to keep traffic off of, the local area network. So if we move over to the right a little from those two, we have an email server and a directory server. You can see that those are only connected via the LAN, so we would just back up data, in the traditional fashion over the LAN to the main backup server, and then write that to whatever media it was scheduled to go to. To the right of the SAN, we have a virtual host environment. So again, that's directly connected to the SAN, so we could back up any of the VMs that are there directly to that SAN, or we could back them up across the LAN and send them wherever we need to. If those VMs were running on the same SAN itself that it was backing up to, we can also just push data from one LUN to another, so we can see very high performance in that kind of a situation as well. Going over to the right, we can back up through multiple firewalls, and we can push data up to the cloud. Depending on use cases, we could also have SEP running in a cloud environment and be pulling data up to the cloud. So it really just depends on users' preferences and use case requirements. And then if we look down on the bottom here, we're also able to manage remote sites, whether it's something across the campus or something across the on the other side of the world. Very easy to manage. We can back data up locally at different remote sites. It could be backup to tape or to disk, or pushing data off to the cloud. We can also migrate or replicate data across to a main location, or push that up to the cloud as well. And so with our deduplication and replication, even if you have very small bandwidth connections, we can see some pretty good performance as well. Speaking of performance, just kind of getting back to the multi-streaming briefly, we schedule things a little bit differently than a lot of our competitors. So a lot of our competitors just back up in a linear fashion. So if we look at, the little diagram we have here, on the left-hand side, there's 9 servers. So a lot of our competitors would just start backing up the Windows server. When that finishes, they'd move on to the Linux. When that's done, they'd go to the Mac, etc. And what we do differently is we set up different task groups. So if we were backing up these 9 servers, they're all different operating systems. Some could have databases, some may not. There could be other applications or things that we're backing up on these servers. We would just break these out into several different backup categories. And so we could back up, we'd have one for, file systems, we'd have another one for sys volumes, we could have disaster recovery task, we could have a database task. And so we would kick off all of those tasks at the same time. And what that does is helps us leverage whatever bandwidth we have to work with, and really, helps us maximize the multi-streaming. So if we were to back up these 9 servers, we could have anywhere from 9 up to 50 or 60 different streams running at the same time. So each one of these servers could have multiple streams coming off of it at the same time. So we typically back up at theoretical maximum speeds. So if we're backing up over a 1 gig connection, you can expect about 120 to 125 gigs an hour for your backup speed. And then backing up across a 10 gig connection, you could expect about 1.2 terabytes per hour. And then across a dual 10 gig, about 2.4 terabytes an hour. And then if you have InfiniBand connections or anything like that, then it just scales up linear based on the theoretical maximum for data transfer for whatever connection we have to work with. So just a couple examples of real world cases of how these concepts kind of play out and benefit our customers. So Vodafone, they're the partner company of Verizon in Europe and Asia. They have us rolled out, and I believe actually now it's rolled out to about 4,300 locations, and they manage everything from one central data center. U.S. National Archiving and Record Administration, we took over their email system probably about 3 years ago now, and when we first spoke with them, they were doing starting full backups on Friday evening, and they were finishing the next Friday around 12 to 2 o'clock if they finished at all. So they were basically doing backups all week long, and if there was an error or a failure, they would have to start over and wait for the next week to start that. So we were able to come in, leverage our multi-streaming. We got them doing full backups. The first full backup we did was 13 hours. And so after we did a little, tweaking and modification within our own system, we got that time down to about 11 hours. So they were able to do full backups every night instead of, possibly getting one full backup in a week. Port of San Diego, similar story. They went from over 100-hour plus backup window down to getting everything backed up in under 4 hours. And specifically, their Oracle backups were just under 5 hours, and we got those down to about 42 minutes. And there's some pretty cool things that we can do with Oracle that I'll touch on here coming up as well. Public Works and Government Services of Canada, just another example of managing 42 locations across the country from one central data center. Couple other examples here. Georgetown University, they actually had a pretty cool story that they called us up and told us about. So they were spending a lot of time on the weekends babysitting their previous backup solution, and they basically had guys stationed, all weekend to manage the backups. And so they called us about 4 or 5 months after we installed SEP, and the director called us and just said, "Hey, we want to let you guys know that just in the past, 3 or 4 months or 5 months, whatever it was, they said that they had saved enough money on overtime that they had already paid for our solution. So that was a pretty cool story to hear. And you know, I think more importantly, they no longer were spending weekends in the office, you know, babysitting and fixing backup tasks. So Rutgers University also increased performance and reliability. Widener University had a, you know, very drastically decreased backup window as well. Scripps College was able to consolidate down from multiple solutions down to one and also reduce their backup window. So just some other kind of real world examples. So SEP has a archiving solution as well. It's a worm technology that basically is a file lock solution. So it stops anyone from editing or deleting or changing any data, whether it be intentional or unintentional. So you simply back up to a archive data store instead of a regular data store, and it just locks everything down so it can't be, you know, changed or modified or edited or anything. We also have Deduplication. It's a global inline dedupe solution, which we're able to replicate to multiple locations as well. And then I put generic drivers on here, and what we mean by that is we don't have our own custom drivers or driver configurations. We just leverage the operating system drivers. So that basically makes us 100% hardware agnostic. So we can go into any environment, we can back up to any type of media. You know, if there's a brand new technology that comes out that you'd like to leverage, you don't have to call us and ask us if it's supported. You know, as long as that device is recognized by an operating system, we can use it as a backup target. Excuse me. From a bare metal standpoint, we can back up Linux servers, Microsoft servers, and also Microsoft workstations. Basically what this is just a bootable image. So we're able to let users restore to similar or dissimilar hardware, and it basically brings up a wizard that walks you through, asks you a couple questions. You know, do you want to keep the same partition sizes? Do you want to increase the partitions or change the sizes? Do you want to install drivers if you're restoring to dissimilar hardware, stuff like that. So it asks a couple questions and basically just gets your server back up and running in the fastest amount of time possible so that you can restore data. For NetApp environments, there's a couple really cool things that we do. The first thing is we have a direct connector for NetApp, which backs up about 6 times faster than traditional NVMe backups. We're also able to do those traditional NVMe backups as well, but our connector, you know, obviously speeds things up and has much higher performance, so we prefer that. And then one of the other really cool things is when we do back up a NetApp device, we can restore that data to any other device we want. We're not locked into restoring that data only to the same NetApp device with the same serial number. So that's definitely something that's unique to SEP and a big advantage for us. Full support for Exchange. So we actually have a new version that has a new Exchange module that came out recently. So it basically brings up a window that looks like Outlook, and you have a upper pane and a lower pane, basically, you know, two windows. And in the upper window is a view of all of your backup tasks and all of the data that's been backed up. And so you don't even have to go in and hit restore or do anything. All you do is just drag and drop whatever you'd like from one window to the other. So it's extremely easy. So you can select all users and do a full restore. You can select individual users. You can go in and select certain emails or different calendar events. You can, you know, it gets very granular. So you can pick exactly what you want to restore and just drag and drop it, and it's right back in. So it's very easy and convenient. It's also DAG aware, obviously VSS aware as well, and supports all the major releases of Exchange. For MS-SQL, again, VSS aware, we can do point-in-time restores. We can cross-restore from one database to another, and probably the most convenient part of this solution is all the log backups can be done with or without truncate options. So we can manage all of that for you, so you don't have to go into SQL Manager for that and do it manually. When we back up Oracle, like I mentioned before, we back up directly through RMAN, and there's a couple of things that we do a little bit differently than a lot of our competitors. So most of our competitors, when they back up Oracle, they'll send a call to RMAN and they'll ask for a copy of the data from the database, and then RMAN will dump all of that data into a little landing area, and then the backup solution will go in and back up the data from that landing zone. So what we do differently is we send a call to RMAN and we ask for a copy of the data, and then RMAN hands that data directly to SEP and we write it directly to media. So we cut out that intermediary step of writing the data to a landing zone. So it does two things. One, it automatically cuts the backup window in half because we're only writing the data one time. And then two, it eliminates the extra storage requirements, to accommodate that landing zone. So it basically, reduces the hardware and storage requirements by half for all the Oracle environments. For SAP, we've been a close partner with them for quite a few years. That's actually probably closer to 20 plus years now. And we have the highest level certification of any third-party vendor. So we support, the new HANA is fully supported. It has been for a little over a year and a half now, I believe. And we also, support all the other SAP applications that run on Oracle or, MaxDB, et cetera. We also offer full support for all Novell environments. We do everything natively through Novell's TSAs, so we're able to back up NSS volumes. We're able to restore individual trustee rights. We back up group-wise. We can do individual message restore for group-wise. You can actually use SEP to migrate from legacy NetWare over to OES as well. Just simply do a full backup and a full restore. It transfers everything over, trustee rights, eDirectory, iFolder, all of that just transfers over. So it can also be used as a very simple and easy migration tool as well. We also do support Novell clusters, and that goes for Windows clusters, Linux clusters, all the clustering is supported as well. Full support for Mac OS, so whether it be a Mac server, desktop, or laptop, anything Mac OS is fully supported. On the virtual side of things, we have full support for VMware, Citrix, Hyper-V, and Red Hat RHEL, which I actually need to add to the slide. So on the VMware side of things, well, actually for all the solutions, everything we do is agentless. So we just connect. In the case of VMware, we would connect to a vSphere server, and basically that will just auto-populate all of the different VMware hosts. It'll show each guest that's residing on the different hosts, and if HA is enabled, we'll track the movement of any of the guests if they move from one host to another. So we can, back those up wherever they are. Couple cool things that we do is we have change block tracking, so we're able to do incremental backups. Typically what we recommend doing is full backups over the weekend of the getting full image level backups and then just doing incrementals throughout the week. And we have a newer feature. It's been out for some time now, but it's still unique to SEP in that there's only one of our competitors can do something kind of remotely similar. But we have what we call an instant restore feature. So if we back up if we back up an image file we can actually separate out the VMDK file, and if we back that up to a shared volume, if that VM goes down, instead of going in and doing a traditional restore and waiting for that VM to be restored, which depending on how large the VM is, can take anywhere from a couple minutes to a couple hours to, maybe half a day or something. So instead of waiting for that process to go through, we can actually just point to the backup copy that's on a shared volume and spin that VM up immediately. So instead of being down for several hours or half a day, we can have a VM back up and running in about 1 to 2 minutes, and then that VM is automatically migrated back into the VMware pool. So quite a significant feature. On the Citrix side of things, everything again is agentless. One cool thing that we do with Citrix is we prevent any activation loss. So if a Windows server crashes or goes down and we restore that VM, it doesn't require any activation of with a Windows product key code or anything like that. All the third-party applications just spin up and are running immediately. You don't have to go in and re-authenticate or reactivate any of the third-party products on there, which also is unique to SEP. Full support for Hyper-V and for Red Hat Rev, and again, native communication through the respective APIs, full image level backups. The way that we typically do a backup of VM is we create an LVM snapshot, we mount it, we back it up, we unmount it, and we delete it. So it's a very straightforward and clean process. We don't have a lot of extra things that are left laying around. It cleans everything up and keeps it nice and tidy and works very efficiently. Here's a slide basically just about how we scale out in larger VMware environments. We're able to leverage very large VMware environments that have thousands of virtual machines. So we don't get to a point where our solution doesn't scale anymore and kind of stops working. It truly is an enterprise solution, unlike a lot of our competitors have some limitations once you start getting above 500 or 600 virtual machines running on VMware, and those limitations just simply don't exist with us. Here's a slideshot or a screenshot of a VMware environment, but we're just going to go ahead and show you what this looks like in the live portion coming up, so we'll go skip this. This is what a restore looks like in our restored wizard, which we can show you as well. The last thing I'll touch on here is a pretty cool feature that is used a lot with virtual machines, but it can also be used with regular data files or databases or anything. We're able to automatically schedule restores, and SEP is also multi-node aware. So we can back up from one VMware pool or one Citrix pool and restore to another. And so that basically gives us the ability just to have warm standbys. They're up and ready to go. So should a disaster occur, you could just automatically fail over to another virtual pool. We can also schedule automatic restores, like I said, with databases or with files or really with whatever you'd like. So it's not a licensed component, it's just part of the product. So it's very easy to schedule restores as well as backups. A couple new features in our latest version. This has actually been out for a little while now, so this isn't very new. But like I mentioned, we have VMware Instant Recovery, VMware Single File Restore for NSS volumes. So you don't need a client or an agent on a VM to be able to restore NSS volumes. Full support for GroupWise 2014. We have the deduplication, also the replication, full support for SAP HANA, and new single port network requirements as well. And coming up in our next release, we plan on having some modifications and some improvements to our dedupe capabilities, our replication capabilities, and some new cloud capabilities as well. So if anyone has any questions, I'll go ahead and answer those now. Again, if you do have any questions at any time throughout the presentation, go ahead and enter those in the right-hand portion of your GoToMeeting console where it says questions. And we're going to go ahead and switch over to James so he can walk us through a live demo portion. So I'm going to go ahead and change over to him now. It doesn't look like there are any questions that have come in so far. So again, if you have any, please feel free to ask. And we will also be answering any questions after James's portion as well. So James, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Lanai. This is a fresh installation I did today on Windows 12 R2. Everything that you can see here is the exact same functionality with the GUI on Linux or Solaris for the server product. So you can just pick which operating system you like to maintain to run the server. When we set up a disk storage, we go and give it a target path. Here, in my case, I'll save my backups onto the D drive. We allocate some amount of space for the backups, maybe 100 terabytes, and then we have a warning threshold where we let you know to get more storage available. With the actual jobs for a machine, we have a couple of automatic jobs. The SESM backup is a backup of our entire system, and we have the DR for the product built in. So when we send email notifications out, we send an affirmative notification that tells you that all the backups work successfully. If a machine or the network goes down during a backup, on the client, then we send you an alarm immediately and then a summary of alarms that day. The disaster interface sends a copy of our actual configuration over email. So if we lose our backup server, we can very quickly import that attachment and get back up and running. This SESM backup contains the same data and also our license and some more detailed log files. When we do a disk backup, we use this all tag. And this tells the machine to set up a VSS context below the block devices. So we get the same quality of backup here that we get through virtualization. Throughout the product, single file restore as possible with all the file backups. Open files are always backed up. And so all we do to get that to run is put it into a scheduling group. With Active Directory and local Windows registries, we include the license for that with our agent. So you don't need special licensing for Novell or Microsoft Directory systems. This includes the system rollback kit and all of the F6 and SXS service stuff. So we just put it into a scheduling group. And so here we've got the full disk, we've got the local Windows registry. Now if we want to do backups for a database, we use the same all tag. We do have the ability to back up specific files and folders and databases and things. But we like to use the all tag because it gives us one-stop shopping. We can go set up the client, do a backup of the file system and any services that it's offering one time, and then there's nothing the user can do to hide data from us. If they add more drive letters, we find those and back those up. If they add development databases and things like that, then we back those up as well. So we just put it into a scheduling group to make it run. On this machine, we've installed our BSR, which is image level backup for Windows machines. We also support that for Linux. It allows us to do very fast recovery with a bootable CD image, whether that's onto identical hardware, a different kind of hardware, or even into a virtual machine. We just put the job into a scheduling group to make it run. By default, what we're doing here with the schedule is we make our tasks here and we put them into our scheduling groups. and then we schedule the groups. And so that saves us from having to go into the schedule every time. All we're doing with the schedule is controlling when we open the window. By default here, we're opening the full backup window on Friday night, leaving that window open all the way until Monday at 8 a.m. And then we're starting incremental windows at, by default, 10 p.m. And those are going to stay open all the way until 8 in the morning. So this new day process lets us track the backup logs that happen overnight. If we start a backup on Tuesday and there are many, many jobs going, some of them don't start till early morning Wednesday. In all of our system, we're breaking the days here with this, so we can see all of that on the day we expect. Makes it easier to find your file. We set up a catalog backup in the morning, so after all of our jobs are done, we're putting a catalog containing all the information from that day's backup, either at the end of the tape or on the end of the disk. We have deduplication capable storage, so when we make a data store, we're able to use just a raw path or network share, or to use our built-in deduplication. This deduplication is unique because it's inline and dynamic block size. So commonly we would be able to back up, a virtual image, virtualization image level backup from, VMware, something like that. And then we'd be able to back up the file level backup of the operating system, and then the system level backups of the databases and the registry and things like that. And those all dedupe together. So we can put, use all the different APIs and capabilities to do all the different backups and not need any extra space to do that. When we add an agentless client, something like VMware, we can talk to either a virtual center installation, or we can talk to an ESX host directly. In this case, it's just an ESX host, but it looks the same. We just select it's a vCenter server if it is. We also support everything for Citrix M Server, as well as Microsoft Hyper-V. So if you have a combination of products, or you don't want to be stuck on a product, you have ability to back all this up. So all we do is we put the host name of a vCenter or ESX machine we want to target, put in appropriate log information, and then we select our initiator. In this case, we haven't installed anything on the ESX server. It's just a default installation with a couple of VMs. So we're going to initiate here from our backup server. We can use multiple initiators, so we have the ability to do backups against a cluster from many different machines for higher performance. If our initiator machine here has access to the LUNs that the VMs are on, or the shared storage, then we do the backup locally. So in a common case, we have a vCenter machine with a couple SAN ports. One port goes to the backup storage, one port goes to the VMware storage, and then we're able to do the backup what we call LAN free. So SAN to SAN backup, highest performance possible. When we do our VMware backups to a disk type of NAS environment, our NAS device ends up being able to be a standby for the SAN. So in the case of our instant restore, we can make our backups out there to a NAS or a local disk, and we can go and start the backups instantly off of the backup copy, and then they live migrate back to the SAN as time permits, if the SAN is available. We just select the data center and the virtual machine that we want, and then we're able to just select the machine and put it into a scheduling group. If there's any high availability stuff going on, or any machines are moved manually by an administrator, we automatically follow those around and pick those up off of the correct host. So here I've just added them to scheduling groups to get those going. That's really the base functionality of the system. I think there's some really neat common capabilities. We handle all the DR capability with the system, as well as just the backup and restore. So in our case, we back up our VMware system into a dedupe repository. we're able to have efficient space utilization there and high performance, because the second time we make a backup, we don't end up take that to another dedupe repository at another location. And we were able to keep the dedupe, the data deduped at that time, so it's very efficient for WAN environments or going to cloud. And then we're actually able to schedule the restoration to another isolated VMware system on the other side. So you're able to have ongoing verification for your DR process. You don't have to sit there and spend a month every year trying to get all of that working and verified. Everything that we do with our backups in the system, we're able to schedule the restoration of. Everything that we get from an API, we're able to restore as a file. So if I back up a VMware VM, I can restore its VMDK files to a disk somewhere. If I back up a SQL database, I can restore a BKF or a SQL file. Same possibilities exist with all the different jobs, so you're not tied to a certain API. Everything is designed so you can restore to the API or like SQL that it came from, or you could restore it to a fresh install of that API, or dump it as a file, or even use a newer version of the API. So you can always implement a new version of SQL, restore all of your jobs, all of your databases to it, and continue operation that way. So it makes things easy when you're upgrading your systems. We keep all of our logs for the backup jobs that are run in job states backup, and that shows detailed logs of what the agent was doing and everything down to the command level. We have logging for the back end here in the day log, and this is everything from checking available storage space to ejecting a tape or loading a tape at the library. And so we have everything is available to you to look at to the logs. From a administration and support context, that means that you don't have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how things work. You can see everything that goes on. There's no hidden registry or anything like that. It shows you what it's running down to the command line. You don't need any command line stuff to operate the system, but if you're wondering how something works, you have the ability to run any command and see exactly how the system's functioning. To give you an example of how this actual runs on a Friday, I'll just go ahead and do an immediate start of our Friday schedule here to show you the multi-streaming. You'll be able to see different jobs starting down here for the different streams. And while those get started, I'll show you the restore wizard for what a single file restore looks like. Let's make a little file backup here. So here in our job states backup, we can see the jobs are running. The system warns us that we have empty groups. You need to put plug-in Exchange or our email product and our data volumes. Here this shows us that the SQL ran successfully. We can see the throughput there. I see some of our virtual machines are being backed up now as well. Now that our test backup is complete, we're able to restore it. Let's look at the restore wizard. We just select a date range from where we lost our file, and then we select an instance of backup within that range. And then we select either the whole thing, or we can pick an individual file that we want. Let's just pick this file. There's a search interface that lets us, search for different files there. By default, we're storing data to the same machine it came from at the same path without any overwrite. So if we've moved our data around, then or moved the file we're trying to replace off, we can just click next through this. We can use this save feature to include this job in a schedule for a ongoing DR type preparation. Here, let's change the path. We'll go ahead and put this on our desktop instead. So we have just a browser here. And there's our desktop. And then I'll exclude the path structure, so we just dump our file, and there you go. That's the restore wizard. We have a little performance indicator down here that can show us what the performance is. This you can see here. It's quite a high performance. This is really common with the system. We always see we're always reaching I/O or a network capacity of our machines that we're using. SESM is not the limitation for performance, where each job only uses a couple megabytes of RAM, and our processes don't do anything to slow down your system, on the agent side while they're running. So that's kind of the basis of how I set up the system. There's nothing rigged up about this. I've actually really did this install today, and all I had to know was my VMware password to get everything going. All of the other technologies are similarly easy to set up. We install an agent for an agent-based installation, or we connect to an API like a hypervisor. We select our jobs, and then we put them into scheduling groups, and then everything just runs automatically. You can get the same reporting that we're seeing here in the backup logs out of the email notifications as well, so you're not stuck, connecting in here every day to see that. We do also provide SNMP management traps. So if you have a network management system that's notifying employees or something like that, it's easy to set that up. That's really the basis of how I have success with SESM on our own systems here. If you have any questions, now is a great time to enter those into the question box if you want to see more details.
So we did have one question so far. Someone asked about the pricing model. So we have two different pricing models, or two different ways to license. The first is kind of a traditional a la carte license model. It's a main backup server, and then licensing clients or agents, licensing the different virtual platforms, stuff like that. And then we also have another licensing model that is just a capacity-based model. So that capacity-based model starts at 20 terabytes. And so it just enables users to use pretty much any of our different components. There's a couple things that aren't included. Archiving and bare metal recovery are the only things that are not included in that capacity license, but everything else is. So all the databases, all the virtual platforms, all the dedupe and replication and encryption and all that kind of stuff is fully supported. Another question came in. Can we write to disk and to tape at the same time? James, I'll let you field that, and if you can just kind of expand on that a little bit, in which cases yes and no and all that.
Yeah, I think that for the restore component, Lanai, or?
I think it looks like it's just, let's just start with the backup. Let's answer it for the backup for now.
Okay. Everything works the same in the system, and as far as the different backup types. So we have special features for each API, but fundamentally we're always using the same parts everywhere to connect, download the data. We can store that on any type of storage media. If we're using a special media type, which is our deduplication, then we have the replication. Throughout all of those different combinations, all of the automation and things that we described fit there. With certain APIs like Oracle and things like that, we do everything that we can for efficiency. So, for the Oracle example, we're using the telling Oracle and RMAN that we're a tape drive, so it can send its data to us. We can send it wherever we want. As soon as we get data into our system, it's fairly unlocked for where you where you want to send it, what you want to do with it. and you can support all of your devices that way.
Perfect. So hopefully that answered that question. Any other questions? Please go ahead and feel free to enter those now. We'll give you a second to enter a couple more. I'm going to go ahead and switch back over to my screen also, so I can put some contact information up. So if anyone would like to do some testing, we have a 30-day trial, and you know, if you'd like us to help you get everything up and running, feel free to give us a call, and you know, we're more than happy to jump on with you and kind of help you get things up and running, help you configure everything if you want to do a little proof of concept or some testing. So please do reach out to us. You know, give us a call, shoot us an email, ping us on social media. Just let us know if that's something you'd like to take a look at, or if you have any individual specific questions or different use case scenarios that you're interested in, please do let us know. I'm going to go ahead and check the questions one more time. And it looks like there are no other questions. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. Please do join us on our ongoing webinar series. We should have another one coming up in December. And like I said, please feel free to reach out to us with any follow-up questions, or if you would like some assistance with testing. James, thank you for the great presentation. And